Yo, what's good? This is Dylan from Producer Grind. Today I'm about to show you guys how to turn a melody or sample into a lo-fi melody or sample. And what I mean by that is to make it sound a little more saturated and kind of put like a lower quality effect on it and just kind of make it sound more like some organic lo-fi or some jazz chill hop, whatever you want to call it. So today I'm going to start with this loop. Now this is a loop created by Hez that he specifically made for this song right here, and this is actually from our lo-fi organic Asparagus album, which is on Spotify. You can check that out. I'll put a link below to check it out. It's 12 songs similar to this. Now I've muted all the effects right here, and I'm going to go through one by one to show you exactly what I did to get the sound. And these are all stock plugins besides this RCompressor right here, but you can get the same effect with the Fruity compressor. The reason I chose to do this with mostly Fruity plugins is just to show you guys how to do it right out of the box without needing any third-party VSTs. So here we go. I'm gonna go ahead and play it by itself.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States.
So I'm gonna go ahead and mute that little intro thing, the President of the United States part. And we're gonna go ahead. The first thing I did is I brought in this compressor. So I'm gonna go ahead and play it, and then I'm gonna bring in the compressor so you can hear the difference. So I'd say this is medium to heavy compression that we did on this threshold 26 ratio. It was a 3, brought up the gain because we lost some volume with the compression. I kind of treated this how I would treat a vocal, and this is pretty much the same kind of similar settings that I would use on a vocal track if I was using this RCompressor on the vocal track. Now you can use these same settings in the Fruity compressor, you'll get the same effect. I just happen to like RCompressor. I brought up this Fruity EQ, and what this did is it chopped off the highs and it chopped off the lows. And to me that's really important for making lo-fi beats, is to definitely chop the tops off, and then I always chop the bottom off to make room for bass. So here we go, I'll go ahead and play it, and then I'll bring in the EQ. So this sample didn't really have a lot going on in the highs as it is, but most samples are going to have a lot of activity going on in these higher frequencies, and you're going to notice a big difference when you chop the top off, the top part. The next thing I did is I brought in this Fruity chorus, and I actually just used the default preset. I didn't change any of the presets. I just used the default preset, and I'll show you what that did. And that really, to me, brought the sample to the top. Made it a little more present, made it definitely sound a little more live. Now, the biggest and second most important thing, perhaps probably even the most important, is this Fruity Distortion plugin. What this does is it kind of gives it a saturated effect. We had the threshold at this notch right here. I don't know exactly what the number, the ratio is. Brought the mix pretty much all the way to the top, left the post by itself. And what this does is it gives you pretty much the same effect that you would get if you were to use a tape saturation plugin. One of my favorite tape saturation plugins comes in the Waves bundle, and this just kind of gives you that same effect, but with just stock plugins. So we'll go ahead and show you what that sounds. So you can kind of hear that saturation that, most of the time, we wouldn't like that on our melodies, especially if we're making some trap shit or, some pop shit or something clean. We wouldn't really want that. But for lo-fi, you definitely want that saturated sound. So let me just go ahead and show you one more time what it sounds like without it, and then bring it in. So if you're listening on speakers or some headphones, you definitely should be able to hear the texture that I added. And then of course we throw in a little reverb, nothing crazy, just my Fruity Reverb 2. And as you can see, I just tweaked the settings a little bit. It's pretty damp, it's got a pretty long decay. Pretty much everything else is the same, so we'll go ahead and bring this in. So you really aren't going to notice too much of that, but that's just the reverb setting right there. And that's pretty much how we do the melodies, our lo-fi melodies. Now the last step to achieving that lo-fi effect sound on your melodies is to, of course, add a vinyl sound effect. And these you can get totally free. I downloaded this one from YouTube. It's actually like a 15-minute vinyl loop, and I just, took what I needed. If you check out our Lo-Fi Vibes sample pack, which we actually just dropped yesterday, created by the same guy that made these melodies right here. It's got 20 different sets of loops that can be used to, create lo-fi, or, if you're just making some, smooth, jazzy type trap, you can definitely use them for those. And it's basically every loop comes with a counter melody or two that go with it, that coincide with it, and they go together to create a real full sound. But it also includes the vinyl, static sample that you can use. Now, there's a lot of different vinyl static samples out there, so it's really just all at your discretion. I don't always like to use the same one. I like to switch it up. Typically, when I'm making an album, though, I will like to keep the same vinyl sound effect, for the whole album, just to bring it all together and keep that universal sound. So this is what it sounds like once you do add that vinyl sound effect. So I'll play it without it. And as you can see, I brought it in. It's definitely adding a texture over the top, a nice scratchy, dirt, grimy. And these are all drum samples from our Asparagus lo-fi drum kit. It's got a bunch of different sounds. I'll actually include a link in the description so you guys can check this out. It's totally free. It's on our website, producergrind.com. Now I'm going to show you guys one more. So we'll pull up this one right here. Now that song right there was called Champagne from the Lo-Fi Organic Asparagus album. This one's called Phases, and both of these are actually the two most popular the most streamed songs from the album. So here we go. There's another loop. As you can see, the same channel state. All I did was load the channel state. And the reason you're seeing halftime here is because in some of these beats on the album, we brought in a breakdown where we used halftime. And these last two I didn't, so that's why, as you see, it's just disabled. So we'll go ahead and play the loop how it is without the vinyl and without the effects. So as you can see, it's real clean sounding. Once we add in the effects, go ahead and bring the compressor in. I'm going to just start adding in these effects as we play it. As you can see, this is way more dramatic when we did this EQ, and I didn't even chop off as much as I chopped off in that last one. So as you can see, there's a big difference when you take the top and bottom off. And this definitely leaves room for counter melodies and drums and stuff like that. And, it just gives it that lo-fi sound. Here we go, bring in the chorus. And that kind of warmed it back up. Then we bring in the distortion saturation. Of course, the reverb. And then last but not least, we'll bring in the vinyl. As you can see, this loop actually came with a bass sample. Now the bass, I gave it its own effects chain right here, and it's a little more simple. All I did was some distortion, to add some saturation, and then just chopped off the top of the bass. I'll show you what it sounds like without the effects. With the distortion. And then the distortion, added a buzz, like kind of some fuzz to the top, and that's why we chopped that off. So we'll play it with it, and then I'll add it in so you can hear the difference. Just made it sound more warm and more sub-dominant. That's what we did to the bass. And as you can see right here, I want to show you one more thing. And this is a technique you can use with any type of beat. All I did is I took the main melody, and to create a counter melody, I took the main melody, I reversed it, and then I also put it on its own track and gave it its own effects. And I didn't really add all the same effects that I did to the first one. All I did is I just pretty much chopped everything off but this high end in the high mid section of the parametric EQ, and then added some reverb, a little more heavier, definitely a little more wet. And this is the sound it gave. So I'll go ahead and pre-roll and bring it in. So as you can see, that effect, doesn't always work with every melody, but it definitely was effective with this one right here. So, definitely give that a try if you're struggling with making a counter melody. If you don't have any ideas, I always, try to work with what I got first and see if there's anything I can utilize. And, that's basically it. Definitely go ahead and check out the Lo-Fi Vibes sample pack, which we just dropped. I'll put a link in there in the description. Like I said, it's got 20 different samples, all with different counter melodies. As you can see, number 13 comes with 2 counter melodies. So definitely go ahead, check it out. Click the link in the description to download the Lo-Fi Organic Asparagus free drum kit. Also check out the Lo-Fi Vibes sample pack. Peace.